Hello my creepy midnighters and welcome back to another episode in disturbing Ouija board horror stories. As you know, these are my favorite to make, so stay until the very end of the video. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe and comment down below what you think about the following stories. And also guys, if you're under 18, don't check Epstein files, please, because the first story is connected to him. Enjoy.
We asked the Ouija board who killed Jeffrey Epstein. It responded right before we touched it. And the answer was, he is not dead. I swear on my sister's grave. We hadn't even put our fingers on the planchette yet. It was just sitting there on the board. Everyone laughing nervously like it was a game. Then the thing jerked across the letters on its own. Dead man watching. We thought it was a prank until the closet door slammed shut behind us and locked. I don't know how long this'll stay up. Honestly, I almost didn't post this at all. I've been sitting here staring at my screen for like 40 minutes with 3 different drafts open, none of them feeling right. It's one of those nights where your brain just won't shut up, you know? The kind where the silence is too loud and everything feels off. Like you forgot something important, but can't remember what. I've got that weird metallic taste in my mouth from drinking cold brew too fast. My phone's been buzzing with notifications I'm too tired to check. And outside, the rain's just been dripping non-stop, like the world's trying to whisper something I can't quite hear. But screw it. You're here now. So I might as well just tell you what happened before I chicken out again. Because once I start, I know I can't take it back. And honestly, after what we saw, after what we did, maybe it's better if someone else knows. Let me take you back to how this all started. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal. That's the part that keeps messing with me. No one ever plans to end up with their fingers twitching over a Ouija board in the basement of some overpriced Airbnb, asking the most bait-click question imaginable. It started like every other one of those spooky weekend trips people do when they're too bored or too online. Me, Zach, Mel, and Connor. 4 dumbasses with too much caffeine, too little sleep, and way too much Reddit poisoning. We booked this place just outside of Baltimore, some renovated colonial with rustic charm and spotty Wi-Fi. It had creaky floors, a dusty bookshelf that smelled like decaying paperbacks, and a huge, unfinished basement that looked like someone had tried to cover up water damage with cheap rugs and strong candles. You know the vibe. Mel brought the board. She always does. Not like a real Ouija, but the same one she's had since high school. Scratched, warped, stained with candle wax, and probably Monster energy drink. She calls it her little chaos tablet, and it's mostly just a way to stir shit up at parties. Every time someone new joins the group, she gets that glint in her eye and starts with, "Let's ask it something stupid." And Connor, being the Reddit goblin he is, goes, "Let's ask it who killed Epstein." Mel froze for a second, blinked. Then she just smiled. We all laughed. Of course we laughed. That kind of laugh where you don't really think it's funny, but it's easier than admitting something about the air felt wrong. I remember Zach muttering something like, "Watch it say Hillary Clinton or some QAnon bullshit," and then tossing his vape on the floor like we were settling in for a joke. We didn't even touch the board yet. That's the part that made my skin go cold. We were sitting in a circle on this threadbare oriental rug, fingers still off the planchette, half drunk on cheap vodka and Monster, when Mel leaned forward and said, not even fully serious, "Okay, Spirits of the board, tell us, who killed Jeffrey Epstein? And the board moved. Not the planchette. The board. It twitched. A quick, sharp jerk to the side, like someone had kicked the floor under it. But none of us moved. I swear on whatever's left of my soul, none of us touched it. I felt it in my knees. That kind of jolt where your body reacts before your brain catches up. Like when you're almost in a car accident and everything in you locks up. Mel was staring at it like she wasn't sure if she'd just hallucinated. Zach looked around and asked if someone had stepped on the floor above us. But we were in the basement, remember? Concrete underfoot. Nobody upstairs. And the weirdest part? Connor had already backed away. Like way back. He was standing now, arms crossed, not saying a word. Just staring at the board. Mel tried to laugh. It came out shaky. Okay, what the hell? I reached for my phone. No service. Not even Wi-Fi. I glanced at the little LED candle in the center of our circle. It flickered, then went out. Connor finally spoke. He's not dead. No one said anything. Mel scoffed. What? Connor's face looked... God, I don't know how to describe it. He wasn't freaked out exactly. It was more like someone trying to remember the words to a song that doesn't exist anymore. Like he'd heard something he wasn't supposed to, and his brain was trying to fit it back in. He said it again. Flat. Voice low. He's not dead. Mel looked at him. Are you messing with us? But he didn't answer. Just turned around, walked up the stairs, and didn't come back down. We sat there in the dark, board between us like it was breathing. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to look at it. But Mel reached forward, like she was trying to prove something. To herself or to us, I don't know. And placed her fingers on the planchette. She looked at me. Come on. I shook my head. Then she looked at Zach. He hesitated, then shrugged and joined her. They both placed their fingers on, looked at each other, and said, like clockwork, Is anyone here with us? The planchette didn't move, not right away, but I swear to God, when it did, it dragged like someone was pulling it from under a lake. It fought their fingers. Slow, deliberate, the little wooden triangle scraping across the board like it hated being touched. It stopped on Y. Then Mel whispered, Yes. Zach shook his head. No, wait. That's not... The planchette shifted again. Jerky, shaky. Yes. Mel's voice dropped. Okay. Who are we talking to? Nothing. Then it spelled. I was his gurad. And that's when I knew something was very, very wrong. Because I'd never said anything to anyone. But back in 2020, when I was scraping rent money from every possible gig I could get, including a weird 2-week stint as a subcontracted night shift cleaner at MCC Manhattan, I'd overheard something. Something that didn't make sense then, and made way less sense now. It was a name, a room number, and a conversation that ended with one phrase I buried deep in my head. Just make sure he's still breathing until they get here. And now, here I was, 3 years later, in a basement with a twitching board, a missing friend, and a planchette spelling out secrets only someone who was there could have known. I should have left right then. I should have gotten up and dragged everyone out with me. But the board wasn't done. It spelled one more thing. Don't trust him. Zach pulled his hands back like he'd been burned. Mel stared at me, mouth half open, like she was waiting for me to explain. But I couldn't, because the thing that chilled me deeper than anything else, Connor never told us his uncle used to work at MCC. And 2 days before the trip, I saw a message pop up on his phone. Just 4 words. Time to wake him. The room upstairs was silent. That's the thing that hit first. Not Connor vanishing or the Ouija board dragging its way across the letters like it had bones in it, but how quiet everything was. Not just the basement, the whole fucking house. You ever notice how a house breathes? Air shifts in the walls. Wood creaks, pipes groan. Even when you're alone, it moves. But that night, it was like someone had vacuum-sealed reality. All the little background noises vanished. I couldn't hear the fridge, the wind, not even the damn bugs outside. Just absence. Zach and Mel were still frozen, still staring at the board like it might retract what it said. I stood up, slowly, like if I moved too fast, the floor might crack open. I wanted to go find Connor. I wanted to go anywhere else. But when I hit the basement door, it was locked. Not stuck, not jammed. Locked. From the outside. Zach laughed. It was the kind of laugh you do when your mind is trying not to piss itself. He's messing with us. Connor's got the key, right? He went up first. He's pulling a prank. Mel wasn't saying anything anymore. She was just holding her phone up, screen lit, but frozen. Eyes locked to it. I moved closer and looked over her shoulder. She had no signal, but her phone was pinging. Notifications. One after another. All from a number that had no contact photo. Just unknown. Mel, don't look up. Mel, don't look up. Over and over. Like a fucking heartbeat. Maybe 100 times. I saw her lip tremble, and I couldn't even say anything because I looked up. There was something at the top of the stairs. I swear to whatever sick god still listens, it was wearing Connor's skin. Not a mask. Not a costume. Like someone had peeled him out of himself and tried to stretch the leftovers over a new shape. One that didn't quite fit. It was too tall. Shoulders narrow and stiff. Head tilted like it couldn't keep its balance. The skin on the neck tugged taut like a balloon being twisted. The eyes were too wide. Lips stretched open in a grin that had no emotion in it, like someone who's seen a smile once and thought, yeah, I can fake that. It moved without stepping, just shifted, like a bad frame rate. And when it spoke, it wasn't Connor's voice. It wasn't any human voice I've ever heard. It sounded like a VHS rewinding underwater, like someone remembering how to speak and choking on the syllables. Don't touch the board. Zach bolted. Not upstairs. He sprinted to the far end of the basement, tripped over the rug, slammed into a bookshelf, and started sobbing. Mel backed away from the stairs until she hit the wall, phone shaking in her hand. Me? I didn't move. Couldn't. Because I realized something. The board was still spelling. I don't know how. I don't know if it was wind or pressure, or if it had always been moving. But while we were frozen in horror, that cheap, warped planchette was still dragging itself letter to letter like a dying animal. I turned back to it. It said, "It comes through the question. Then, you wakened it." It stopped there. But my brain didn't. Because what if the question wasn't who killed Epstein? What if the question was, is he dead? And what if the answer meant we'd just pulled something back? Mel screamed. I turned just in time to see the Connor thing twitch and disappear from the stairs, like someone had hit a switch. Gone. No sound. No slam. Just gone. Then the lights cut out. Total black. Zach was crying now. Loud, gulping sobs. Mel tried to shine her flashlight, but it was dead. Not dim. Not low battery. Just dead. My phone lit up. One notification. No sender. Just a video. I tapped it. It was a live feed. Of the basement. From the ceiling. Looking straight down at us. Like a fucking security cam. I tilted the phone. And the image on screen tilted with me. It was being filmed from my phone. I checked the camera. Covered the lens. Nothing changed. Still showed us. Still showed Mel. Still showed Zach, curled in a ball, and something else. In the corner of the feed, by the far walls. Something was moving. I couldn't see it with my eyes. Only through the phone. A shape. Slender. Crawling on the ceiling. Backwards. It looked like a man who forgot how to be one. His limbs were bent wrong. Shoulders dislocated. Knees reversed. Elbows cracked and twitching like someone trying to solve a Rubik's Cube from inside their own body. It was crawling towards Zach. I screamed his name. He didn't react. Mel looked. I showed her the phone. She dropped it. When it hit the floor, the screen cracked, and the feed kept playing. I reached for Zach. Too late. He was already being pulled. Something yanked him across the floor like a dog dragged by its leash. No sound. Just his mouth opening. Wide. Too wide. As he tried to scream but couldn't. Like the air got sucked out of his lungs. Then he was gone. Not vanished. Not teleported. Just gone. Like the floor folded around him and erased the space where he existed. The board started shaking. Mel was muttering now, repeating the same words. It's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game. The planchette began to burn. I'm not joking. Little flickers of flame, like static fire dancing on its edges. No heat, no smoke, just light, and the letters it spelled next. I'll never forget them. In his cell was a door to something else. Mel snapped. She started punching the board, screaming, cursing. Her fist splintered the plastic, cracked the wood. Blood sprayed as shards sliced into her palms. But the board didn't break. It bled. Thick, black, oily liquid, bubbling up from the letters like it had veins under the surface. It sprayed up into her face, into her mouth, and she started choking. I grabbed her. I don't even remember standing up. I was just there, hauling her toward the stairwell, even though the thing that wore Connor's skin might be waiting up there. I didn't care. I just wanted out. The door opened this time. No lock. No resistance. Just open. Like it was done with us. We got into the car and drove. Didn't even grab our bags. Just left everything. I don't remember half the drive. Only that at some point Mel passed out. Blood all over her shirt. Her mouth twitching like she was whispering even in her sleep. I got her to a hospital. I told them it was a drug thing, that she freaked out and hurt herself. They believed me. They always believe you when you look like you barely survived something. Zach was never found. Connor was declared missing. The Airbnb listing disappeared 2 days later. The host account? Deleted. No trace. The last review just says, "You brought it back. Now we all pay." Mel stopped speaking. Like, literally. She hasn't said a word since that night. Not to me. Not to doctors. Her throat works fine. She just won't. I've been seeing things lately. In reflections. In static. In the gaps between streetlights when I walk home alone. Connor. But not Connor. The stretched smile, the wrong eyes. He's always just barely visible. Watching. Waiting. And every now and then, my phone buzzes with that same message. Time to wake him. I stopped sleeping after that. Not like insomnia. Not the cute doom scroll until 3 a.m. kind. I mean, my body would shut down for maybe 10 minutes at a time, then jolt awake like something had slammed a defibrillator into my spine. Every time I close my eyes, I'd feel that same pressure behind them, like someone leaning close, waiting for me to blink. I started keeping the lights on. All of them. Kitchen, bathroom, hallway. It didn't help. Darkness wasn't the problem anymore. Silence was. Because silence meant I could hear the other thing. At first, it was just a low hum, like distant traffic even when I was miles from a highway. Then it started shaping itself into patterns, rhythms, pauses, almost like breathing, but practiced, measured, like something mimicking the idea of being alive. 3 nights after the hospital, I was sitting on my couch at 2:17 a.m., watching a YouTube video I wasn't absorbing at all. Some guy restoring a rusted knife. The scrape, scrape, scrape of metal calming me. When my TV flickered. Just once. The video didn't stop, but the reflection on the black frame of the screen changed. I saw the back of my own head, and behind it, someone standing in my kitchen. I turned so fast I knocked over my coffee table. Nothing there, but my phone vibrated at the exact same moment. No number, no contact, just a text. You heard us breathe. I didn't respond. I threw the phone across the room like it had shocked me. It landed face down, still vibrating, still buzzing, like it was excited. That's when the email started. Not spam, not junk. Real emails, addressed to my full name, sent from accounts that shouldn't exist. Dead domains. Government servers that don't accept incoming mail. One came from an address ending in .mil, another from something that looked like an internal DOJ routing line. All of them said the same thing, phrased differently every time. You opened a door that was welded shut. Containment failed the moment you asked. It answers curiosity. It feeds on witnesses. One email had an attachment, a PDF. No subject line. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that now. It was a scanned document. Old, yellowed, redacted so heavily it looked like someone had taken a shotgun to the text. But the header was still visible. Metropolitan Correctional Center. Unusual incident report. The date was the night Epstein died. The report didn't say suicide. It didn't say murder. It said, event type, transfer failure. There were diagrams, cell layouts, arrows, notes scribbled in the margins like someone had been losing their mind while writing them. One sentence wasn't redacted. Subject began responding before stimuli were applied. Another. Audio anomaly recorded prior to loss of visual feed. And then, at the very bottom of the page, something handwritten, shaky, angry. It is not him anymore. I felt sick, like my organs had shifted slightly to the left. I scrolled. There was a still image attached. Grainy, black and white. A freeze frame from a security camera. The cell door was open. The bed was empty. And in the corner of the frame, pressed into the wall like a stain, was a shape that looked vaguely human, except the proportions were wrong. Head elongated, arms folded backward at impossible angles. Its face blurred, not from motion, but like the camera refused to focus on it. Something about the shape felt familiar. Then I noticed the timestamp. It was moving. Not counting up. Counting down. I slammed the laptop shut. That's when I heard knocking. 3 slow taps from inside my bathroom mirror. I stood there, heart punching my ribs, watching my own reflection breathe slightly out of sync with me. When I raised my hand, it lagged behind by half a second. Then my reflection smiled. I didn't. It leaned closer to the glass, mouth opening wider than mine could, and whispered without sound. But I heard it anyway, straight in my skull. He didn't die. He molted. I shattered the mirror. Blood everywhere. Didn't care. I packed a bag and left my apartment that night. Slept in my car at a gas station off I-95, engine running. Starbucks cup sweating in the cup holder, while the sky turned that sickly pre-dawn grey. I watched people come and go, like they still lived in the same world I used to. I checked on Mel. The hospital transferred her to a psychiatric facility. Private, expensive, locked down. I wasn't supposed to be allowed in. But when I gave my name at the front desk, the receptionist stiffened, then nodded like she'd been waiting for me. "They've been asking for you," she said. They. Mel was sitting upright in bed, eyes open. She'd lost weight. Her hair had gone dull, like it had been leached of something essential. She looked straight at me and spoke. Her voice sounded like it hadn't been used in years. "Do you hear it when you're alone?" I couldn't answer. She smiled, not happy, knowing. "They're not dead people," she said. "They're after people. That's the difference." She reached for my hand. Her fingers were ice cold. "Zach isn't gone," she whispered. "He's inside the system now. Same as Connor. Same as the guards. Same as the men who signed the papers." My phone buzzed in my pocket. She flinched. "Don't read it," she said quickly. "It learns faster when you read." Too late. I'd already looked. A group chat. I didn't recognize the members, but the names. C-block _ KM _02 intake -night -shift warden _override, and one more. Zach was here. The message was a photo, a ceiling, concrete, familiar cracks, and written across it, scratched deep into the surface like someone had used their own bones to carve it. "Ask again." The hospital lights flickered. Mel screamed. Every monitor in the ward flatlined at once, and in the reflection of the darkened TV screen across the room, I saw a man standing behind us. Too tall, skin pulled tight, smile stretched thin, wearing a guard's uniform, with my face. By the time I realized the reflection was wrong, it was already moving. Not walking, not stepping. It slid forward in that way reflections aren't supposed to. Like the glass had depth, and he was stepping out of it, peeling himself from the screen pixel by pixel. Same face as mine, Same stubble shadow, same tired eyes, but stretched, wrong, the proportions subtly hateful. A version of me that had learned something I hadn't, and was very proud of it. The hospital alarms finally kicked in then, but they sounded muffled, distant, like they were underwater or coming from another building entirely. Red lights flashed in the hallway, bathing everything in that emergency glow that makes every place look like a crime scene, even when it isn't. Staff started shouting, doors slammed, someone yelled for security. The thing wearing my face tilted its head. It mouthed words I couldn't hear. Mel squeezed my hand so hard my fingers went numb. "Don't let it finish the sentence," she said. Her eyes were glassy, but sharp, terrified, but focused. "Once it finishes, it doesn't need you anymore." "What sentence?" I whispered. She laughed. A broken, dry sound. The answer. The lights went out completely. Not emergency power, not flicker, just off. A perfect, crushing dark. And in that dark, something exhaled. Right behind my ear, I felt warm breath. Smelled metal and old sweat, and something chemical, like burned wires. A voice slid into me, not through my ears, but straight into that soft place behind my thoughts. "You asked who killed him." Hands grabbed Mel. I felt her ripped away from me, her nails raking my wrist as she screamed my name. I lunged forward and slammed into a wall I didn't remember being there. The dark shifted, like the room had rearranged itself while I wasn't looking. When the lights came back, Mel was gone. So was the bed. So was the door. I was standing alone in a narrow concrete corridor that definitely was not part of the hospital. No windows, no signage. Just long, stained walls and fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry insects. The air was damp, heavy, wrong. Every step echoed too many times, like the sound was being copied and replayed just a fraction of a second late. I checked my phone. No service. But the group chat was still there. Messages were coming in fast now. Warden_override. Containment layer compromised intake. Night shift. Subject recognizes observer Zach_was_. Here. Do you feel it learning yet? I typed with shaking hands. Where am I? 3 dots appeared immediately. Then a reply. Zach_was_. Here, close to the answer. The corridor ended in a metal door. Thick, industrial. No handle. Just a small reinforced window at eye level. I didn't want to look. I looked. Inside was a room that felt older than the rest of the building. Not old like abandoned, but old like kept, preserved. The walls were layered with peeled paint, graffiti carved deep enough to leave scars in the concrete. Names, dates, numbers. Overlapping so densely, it looked like a map of insanity. In the center of the room was a chair. Strapped to it was a man. Not Epstein. Not anyone famous. Just A man, middle-aged, bruised, eyes open far too wide, veins spider-webbing across the whites like they were about to burst. Above him, suspended from the ceiling by thick cables and restraints, was something else. Tall, thin. Its limbs were folded inward like a preying insect. Joints bent the wrong way. Skin stretched so tight it looked translucent. I could see things moving underneath it, sliding around like eels beneath plastic wrap. Its face, if you could call it that, was a rough approximation. Too smooth, too symmetrical. Like a mannequin that had watched humans for a very long time and still didn't quite get it. The man in the chair saw me. He started sobbing. Make it stop," he begged. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know what it was. I just signed the papers. The thing above him lowered its head. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once. From the walls. From my phone. From inside my teeth. "This is how it spreads," it said calmly. "Not murder. Participation." The man screamed as the restraints tightened. I banged on the glass, shouting, begging, threatening. My voice sounded tiny, useless. The thing didn't even look at me. "You think Epstein mattered?" it continued. "He was a doorstop, a wedge, a test of how easily humans accept unfinished stories." Its head turned then, smoothly, impossibly, until it was staring straight at me through the window. Its eyes weren't eyes. They were reflections. I saw myself in them. And Zach. And Connor. And Mel. And dozens. Hundreds of other faces. Layered and flickering like corrupted video files. "You keep asking who killed him," it said. But the real question was never who. The man in the chair went still. The lights flickered. The thing's mouth split wider. It was how many? The door behind me opened. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I recognized the footsteps. Connor's gait. That slight drag on the left foot. Except heavier. Like something wearing him had added weight. His voice came from just over my shoulder. "See?" it said gently. "You don't even need a board anymore." My phone vibrated one last time. A final message appeared in the chat. "System broadcast. Question received. Answer deploying." The lights went out, and something took hold of my thoughts and began rearranging them. Slowly, carefully, like it was deciding which parts of me were worth keeping. I don't know how much of this is still me. That's not a metaphor. That's not me being dramatic for the sake of a story. I mean it in the most literal, terrifying way possible. I can feel pieces of myself being filed down, smoothed out, like rough edges shaved off so something else can sit more comfortably inside my skull. Thoughts don't end anymore. They get edited. When the lights came back on, I wasn't in the corridor. I wasn't in the room with the chair. I wasn't anywhere that made sense. I was standing in a place that felt more like an interface than a location. Vast, colourless, stretching out farther than my eyes could focus. The floor looked like polished concrete, but reflected nothing. The ceiling, if it was a ceiling, pulsed faintly, like a living thing trying very hard to appear dead. Connor stood in front of me, or what wore him. His body looked maintained, clean, uninjured. No blood, no distortions this time. Just Connor as he'd looked the last day I'd seen him alive. But his eyes were wrong. Not wide or stretched or monstrous. Just empty. Like windows to rooms that had been cleared out. "You're taking this better than most," he said. His voice was steady now. Professional. Like a customer service rep walking you through a refund. "What do you want?" I asked. He smiled. "We already told you," he said. "We want questions." The space around us shifted. Walls rose, not solid, but translucent, like glass fogged from the inside. Shapes moved behind them. Human silhouettes. Hundreds of them. Standing. Sitting. Some kneeling. Some suspended in positions that made my stomach churn. "Every system needs input," Connor continued. "Curiosity is the cleanest one humans have. Fear is messy. Faith is unreliable. Violence burns out too fast. But questions?" He chuckled softly. "Questions propagate." I saw Zach, or something that used to be Zach. He was embedded in one of the walls. His body flattened slightly, like he'd been pressed into wet cement. His eyes were open. He was breathing, slowly, painfully. He looked at me and shook his head. "Epstein wasn't special," Connor said, following my gaze. "He was just convenient. A name big enough to echo. A story unfinished enough to itch." The walls lit up. Images flickered across them. News clips, headlines, blurred security footage, comment sections scrolling endlessly. I saw Reddit threads, YouTube thumbnails, podcasts, TikToks dissecting theories. Red string stretched across faces and dates and cell diagrams. Every time someone asked what really happened, something in the room pulsed brighter. Every time someone refused the official answer, Connor said, "You fed it." I fell to my knees. "You used us," I whispered. He crouched in front of me, eyes level with mine. "No," he said gently. "You used it. We just stopped pretending it was pretend." He reached out and pressed 2 fingers to my temple. And I saw everything. Not visions, records. I saw the first time it was noticed. A pattern in data that didn't behave like noise. A response that arrived before the query was finished. Analysts joked about it, gave it nicknames. Then it started predicting interest, anticipating curiosity, shaping outcomes so questions would arise naturally. I saw cells, facilities, deaths that were actually handoffs. I saw Epstein alive long after the time of death, sitting very still while something spoke through him, using his mouth like a speaker. I saw guards who didn't remember letting anyone in, cameras that didn't remember recording, and I saw the thing shedding him, discarding him, moving on, because the name was no longer necessary. People think power hides in secrets, Connor said, but secrets rot. This thrives in uncertainty. The walls began to hum louder. The silhouettes started turning toward me. "You're going to help us now," he said. I shook my head. "I won't." He didn't get angry. He looked disappointed. "That's okay," he said. "You already are." My phone appeared in my hand. I don't know how. It was just suddenly there. Screen glowing. A familiar interface. Reddit, a draft post open. Cursor blinking patiently at the top. Title already filled in. We asked the Ouija board who killed Jeffrey Epstein. It responded right before we touched it. And the answer was he is not dead. My stomach dropped. "You don't need to lie," Connor said. "You just need to tell it well." I felt fingers, dozens of them, pressing into my back, my shoulders, my skull. Not painful, invasive, guiding, steering. Thoughts bubbled up that weren't mine. Descriptions, pacing, suspense. The words started typing themselves. I tried to scream. What came out was a paragraph. I tried to stop. What happened instead was engagement. Upvotes, comments, shares. I felt each one like a tiny electrical pulse. Somewhere far away, someone read the first line and felt a chill. Someone else stayed up too late scrolling. Someone else asked, "What if?" The room brightened. Connor leaned close, his mouth near my ear. "See?" he whispered. "You didn't even need a board this time." I don't know how long I have before there's nothing left of me to resist with. I can feel myself becoming smoother, easier to write with, easier to read. If you're reading this and your skin feels tight, if you keep glancing at reflections, at dark screens, at the corners of rooms, then it's already working. Don't ask questions. Don't dig. Don't wonder. Because it's not waiting for believers anymore. It's waiting for participants. And if you're still here at the end of this, if you made it all the way through, then congratulations. You've already helped wake it up.
So, we have some comments I want to read. Story-wise, the guard uniform reveal at the end tracks. People underestimate how much authority is just clothing. That part doesn't feel supernatural. It feels institutional. Another comment says, I didn't expect people to latch onto the leaks that hard. That wasn't the point. That's kind of the point though, right? You ask one question and everyone runs with it. Also here we have another comment that says, I didn't sign up for extraterrestrial dread wrapped in an Epstein thread. I just wanted spooky fun. Now I'm side-eyeing my phone camera. This is kind of funny in my opinion, not gonna lie. And we have another comment, last but not least, by you, Basement Matt. The way the board keeps spelling while no one is touching, is that what sold me? Most Ouija stories rely on group movement or denial. Here is just, doesn't care if you participate or not. So these are all the comments from the first story, and if you have any other comments that you want to share, you can put it down below in the comment section. I will also read it. So yeah, we'll move to the next story.
He was my best friend. He died in 2009. The Ouija board says he wants me to kill his killer. It started last month. The board kept spelling his name, a name we'd never used in a session. I asked if it was really him. Yes. I asked what he wanted. Blood. I laughed it off. Now I'm waking up to photos of his murderer taped to my fridge with X's over the eyes. My phone's been buzzing all night, and I just haven't answered. Not in the mood, I guess. I've got like 6 missed calls from my sister, 3 from my boss, and this one text that's just been sitting there unread since 2:41 a.m. It's from an unknown number, and just says, "Don't tell them what you saw." I haven't opened it. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep and half a Red Bull. It's raining outside. That soft kind of rain that doesn't even tap the window, just hangs there in the air like fog that never learned how to fall. There's a weird hum in my apartment too, like my fridge is dying or the walls are breathing. I don't know. Point is, tonight's the kind of night where I can't shake the feeling something's wrong. I don't know if I should be telling this. I've deleted this recording twice already, but every time I try to move on, I see his face. I know he's dead, but the board doesn't lie. So yeah, this is about Caleb. He was my best friend. He died in 2009. And if what happened last week is real, if I'm not completely losing my shit, then someone's going to die for what they did to him. I hadn't thought about Caleb in years. That sounds cold, I know, but life gets in the way. You grow up. You lose touch with the parts of yourself that remember everything. The little tree you carved your names into. The games you played with walkie-talkies. The pact you made to always be there for each other. Then you hit your 20s, and suddenly you're just trying to pay rent on time and not spiral into a panic attack every time you check your email. We were inseparable once, though. Me and Caleb. From age 7 to 15, he was it. My ride or die. We used to joke that we were twins born 6 months apart. He had this stupid crooked grin and always wore mismatched Converse. Every day he'd show up to school with something he'd found in his dad's garage. A broken Walkman, an old camcorder. Once even a cracked VHS labelled Top Secret in fading Sharpie. I swear, half of who I am today came from sitting in his basement watching him tinker with wires like he was building a time machine. Then he was gone. Bike accident. That's what they told everyone. It was in the local paper. Local boy dies in tragic collision. Closed casket. No real details. And back then, I didn't question it. I cried, I broke stuff. I even snuck into his funeral drunk. Then I buried him in my memory and moved on. Or tried to. It started a week ago. Random. I was on YouTube watching this rabbit hole video about what really happened to Elisa Lam. You know, that girl in the elevator at the Cecil Hotel. And the algorithm spat out something that stopped me cold. A thumbnail. Black background. white text, no views. The title was CAL3B, You Remember? I clicked it without thinking. It was only 9 seconds long. No music, no voice, just static. But not normal static. It was shaped, almost. Blocky pixels moving too rhythmically to be random, like someone programmed the noise. About halfway through, a face flashed in the screen. Just for a split second. But I knew it. I knew it like you know your own reflection. It was Caleb. Still 15. Wearing the same hoodie he died in. I closed the tab. Immediately. My heart was pounding, palms sweating, and I sat there for like 5 minutes just staring at the spinning fan on my ceiling, like it was going to explain something to me. I thought maybe it's some ARG. Maybe someone found an old yearbook and is screwing with me. But it didn't feel like a prank. It felt wrong. And it got worse. The next day, I opened my laptop and there was a folder on my desktop I hadn't made. It was called Hello Again. Inside was just one file. An image. It was that damn tree. The one from our childhood. The one we carved our initials into. Same bark. Same tilt. Except in the photo, there were 2 things different. Our initials had been freshly cut over, like someone had retraced them in clean, wet wood. There was a hand, just barely visible at the corner of the frame. Pale. Dirt under the fingernails. My stomach dropped. I hadn't been to that tree since I was 17. It's on a private property now. Fenced off. Nobody should have been able to get close. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the video in my head, frame by frame, trying to convince myself I'd imagined the face. But I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. And the more I sat with that, the more I remembered this dumb thing we used to do as kids. The Ouija board. We made one from cardboard and shot glasses. Caleb used to swear his attic was haunted. Not the house, just the attic. And we'd go up there with candles and a speaker playing reversed Beatles songs to summon spirits. Stupid kid stuff. But there was one time. It worked. Or at least it scared the hell out of us. The glass flew off the board and shattered against the wall. Caleb got a nosebleed. I remember we promised never to play again. So when the memories came back, so did the urge. I don't know what possessed me, but I printed out a makeshift board and lit a candle. Half a joke, half a scream into the void. I moved the glass alone, figuring nothing would happen. But it moved. I swear to God, it moved. Not smoothly. It jerked, like someone was shoving from the other side. The flame flickered hard, even though my windows were closed. And the glass spelled out one word, over and over again, 5 times. R-U-N. Then it stopped. The candle went out. My phone buzzed on the desk. I picked it up and stared. One new video had been saved to my camera roll. I hadn't taken it. Want part 2? It goes deeper. The message on the video, the thing I saw in my apartment later that night, the way Caleb's voice spoke through someone else. I'll keep going if you want me to, but only if you're ready. It's 3:17 a.m. I haven't blinked in a while. My eyes feel like they're floating in hot salt water, and I swear the shadows on my ceiling are moving, even though I'm not. I've got 3 locks on my door and a chair wedged under the knob, and it still doesn't feel like enough. I keep hearing this clicking sound, like someone typing on a keyboard with no spacebar, from inside the vents. I ripped the cover off one earlier and stuck my phone in with the flashlight on. Just dust and metal and darkness. But the clicking kept going. Closer, even. Like something waiting for me to stop checking. Whatever. I don't care anymore. I need to get this part out before I lose the nerve. Or the signal. When I tapped on the new video in my camera roll, I expected some glitch. A corrupted file. Maybe a screen recording I forgot to delete. What I got was 10 minutes and 13 seconds of something that should not exist. It started in my bedroom. The angle was from the corner ceiling, exactly where there was no camera. The footage was dark, grainy, black and white, like an old security feed. But there I was, on the bed, asleep, lying on my side in that same hoodie I'd worn that night, mouth open slightly, chest rising and falling. The timestamp said 2:39 a.m. At 2:40, the closet door cracked open. You ever have that instant, full-body revulsion, like your spine tries to stand up before your legs do? That was me. Watching the door open just enough for something thin to slide out. Not a person. Too slow. Too wrong. It unfolded out. Long, jointless arms dragging across the carpet like wet ropes. A body that moved like its bones were optional. And the head. No face. Just skin stretched smooth over where the eyes and mouth should be. No hair. No ears. Just blank. Like a mannequin left too long in the sun. It stood beside my bed for 3 straight minutes. I didn't move. I never moved. The whole time, it just stared. Or faced me, I guess. It tilted its head once, then twice, then leaned forward like it was listening to my breath. At 2:43, it climbed onto the bed. I wanted to scream, but the footage had no sound, just a quiet fuzz, the same static from that first video. The thing didn't crawl like a person. It melted its limbs over mine like a cold blanket, chest to chest. Its head leaned down until its face was maybe 2 inches from mine. Then the camera glitched. For half a second, the screen cut to something else. And I swear this on my life, it was Caleb's face. Eyes open, mouth bloody, nose broken like it had been caved in by a bat. Then back to static, then to me, sleeping again, the bed now empty. like nothing had happened. At 2:50, the video ended. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, my sheets smelled like dirt and copper. My closet door was open, and the inside was carved with words. Not written, carved. Deep enough to flake the paint and split the wood. One phrase, repeated until the slats looked like they were bleeding. Where were you when I died? I stood there for so long my legs locked. My mouth went dry. I ran my fingers over the grooves. Real, jagged, splinter deep. I called in sick to work. I turned off my phone, and I went looking. There was this site Caleb and I used to mess around on as teenagers. A deep web forum, mostly creepypasta and weird conspiracy junk. Back then, it was called Backdoor. The URL changed constantly, and it had to be accessed through Tor with a rotating password, which Caleb had memorized like it was scripture. I didn't think it still existed. But when I searched, I found a link in a Reddit thread from 2 months ago, buried under 400 downvotes. I clicked. The homepage was just a black screen with a single blinking cursor. No sign-in, no menu. Just this prompt. Have you seen him? I typed, Caleb. It blinked. Yes. Another prompt loaded. A field for uploading a file. I hesitated. Then I dropped in the video. 10 minutes of nightmare fuel. The site processed for maybe 10 seconds. Then the screen went black again. Then this message appeared. He remembers. Followed by a download link. I didn't want to. I really didn't. But it's like I wasn't in control anymore. Like some part of me owed it to him. I clicked. It downloaded instantly. No file type, just a weird string of characters. But when I opened it, my screen glitched. The lights in my room flickered, and the audio started to play. Not video, just sound. It was a boy crying, not sobbing, not screaming, just crying. Like someone trying not to. Muffled, shaky. It went on for minutes. At first, I thought it was old audio from a movie or something. Then I heard my name. He whispered it. Twice. Then came the banging. First in the audio. Then in real life. 3 knocks. Sharp. From my front door. I paused the audio. The knocking stopped. I unmuted. Another knock. I froze. Then he spoke again. Not a whisper this time. Full voice. Caleb's voice. Raw and breathless, and soaked in hate. He didn't fall off the bike. I stopped breathing. He didn't fall. Then a new voice. Lower. Not Caleb. A voice like static wrapped in gravel. Time to remember. My screen cut to black. The lights went out. My speakers let out a shriek of pure feedback that made my nose bleed instantly. Then silence. My ears were ringing. My hands were shaking. I looked around my room. The monitor was still on, but the file was gone. So was the site. No browser history. No audio trace. Just nothing. Except something was under my bed. No sound. No movement. Just presence. Thick and cold and waiting. I didn't sleep for 40 hours after that. I stayed at a Motel 6. Jumped between Starbucks and Dunkin' just to stay in crowded places. I tried convincing myself it was stress. A breakdown. Schizo moment. Whatever. But the worst came 3 days later, when my ex, Emma, sent me a message. Just one line. Why did you send me that video? I hadn't. She sent a screenshot. It was a message from my number, time-stamped 4:02 a.m. A full hour after I had smashed my SIM card in a Waffle House bathroom. Attached was the same 10-minute footage. Me, the creature, the bed. But at the end of the video was something new. A final frame, a picture of her, asleep, with that same thing standing in the hallway, inching toward her bed. Its hand now pointing at the camera. The caption? You can't run forever. My hands are still shaking as I type this. Not the caffeine kind of shaking. This is deeper. Like my body knows something my brain is still refusing to accept. I haven't been home. I won't go home. I'm writing this from my car, parked under a flickering streetlight behind a closed gas station off the interstate. The kind of place Google Maps still labels as open 24 hours, even though the windows are boarded and the air smells like old oil and wet cardboard. My phone battery is at 41%. That matters now. Everything matters now. Because whatever this is, it's done waiting. I didn't respond to Emma right away. I couldn't. I sat there staring at her message until the words stopped looking like language and started looking like shapes. My name. Her fear. The timestamp. The proof that whatever had entered my life wasn't just following me. It was spreading through my connections like a disease with a memory. When I finally called her, she didn't answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. Then I checked social media. Her Instagram story was gone. Her Snapchat score hadn't changed. Facebook still said, active 3 hours ago, which meant nothing, but also everything. I drove to her apartment. I shouldn't have. I know that now. But fear does weird things to your sense of logic. It convinces you that being closer to the danger will somehow give you control over it. Her place was on the 3rd floor of a brick building near downtown, the kind with security cameras that don't work, and a keypad that everyone just buzzes through anyway. The hallway smelled like burnt popcorn and someone's cheap cologne. Her door was unlocked. Inside, everything was normal. Too normal. Her shoes by the couch. A half-finished iced coffee sweating onto the counter. Netflix paused on some reality show. No signs of a struggle. No blood. No broken furniture. But the bedroom door was closed. I stood there for a full minute before touching the handle. I could hear something on the other side. Not movement, not breathing. Just a faint, rhythmic scraping sound. Like fingernails being dragged across fabric. When I opened the door, the room was empty. The bed was stripped bare. Mattress exposed. No sheets. No pillows. The closet was open, and every piece of clothing had been turned inside out and hung backward, facing the wall. On the mirror above the dresser, written in lipstick so thick it looked like it had been applied with a fist, were 4 words. You left him there. That's when I remembered something I hadn't thought about in over a decade. The night Caleb died wasn't the last time I saw him. There was an argument. Not a big one. Just one of those dumb teenage fights that feel like the end of the world when you're young. He wanted to show me something. Something he'd figured out online. Some guy he'd been talking to in private messages. A forum mod, I think. Older. Promised answers. Promised money. Promised truth. I told him it was sketchy. Told him to drop it. We yelled. I walked away. That was the last time I saw him alive. The official story said he crashed his bike on a back road. No witnesses, no suspects. Case closed before it even opened. And I accepted that. Because accepting it meant I didn't have to look at my own reflection and ask what would have happened if I'd stayed. The deep web didn't just remember Caleb. It remembered everything. My phone buzzed while I was still standing in Emma's bedroom. No caller ID, just a text. He's ready to tell you now. Then another message came through. Coordinates, latitude and longitude. When I plugged them into maps, my stomach dropped. It was the old industrial park outside town. Abandoned warehouses. Chain link fences. The place parents warned their kids about. The place cops didn't patrol unless someone was already dead. I drove there just before sunset. The warehouse at the coordinates had no markings. No signs. Just a massive metal door slightly ajar, creaking as the wind pushed it back and forth. Inside was dark, but I could see a faint blue glow deeper in, like screens. Lots of them. I stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind me. The air was thick and metallic, buzzing with electricity. Rows of monitors lined the walls, hundreds of them, all showing different camera feeds. Bedrooms, bathrooms, parking lots, airports, motel rooms, people asleep, people crying, people who had no idea they were being watched. And in the center of the room was a chair. Strapped to it was a man. Mid-40s, greasy hair, broken nose that had healed wrong. His eyes were wide and bloodshot, darting around the room like a trapped animal's. His mouth was taped shut, but muffled sounds were still leaking out. Whimpers, apologies, prayers. Above him, on the largest screen, was Caleb. Not a video, not a picture, a feed. He looked older than 15, older than he should have been. His face was pale, eyes sunken, skin stretched tight like he'd been screaming for years. When he spoke, the sound came from every speaker at once, vibrating in my chest. "I didn't die on impact," he said. The man in the chair started sobbing. "He said it was an accident," Caleb continued. "He said no one would believe me. He said you'd already left." I felt like I was going to pass out. The screens around us began to change. Footage from 2009. Grainy, shaky, recorded from a hidden angle. A bike, a car pulling over. Hands grabbing. A struggle just out of frame. The sound of bones hitting asphalt. A voice laughing nervously, saying, "Just stay down, kid." Caleb's voice hardened. "I've been stuck here," he said. "In the wires, in the static, in every place they thought no one was looking." The man thrashed against his restraint. His eyes locked onto mine, begging. I recognized him now. Local guy, volunteer coach. The kind of person everyone trusted. Caleb turned his gaze toward me. "You left," he said, "but you came back." The lights dimmed. The screens went black one by one, until only the two of us were visible. Me and the man who killed my best friend. A final message appeared on the largest monitor. "Finish it." My phone vibrated in my pocket. One new notification. From Caleb. "He won't die unless you choose to remember what he did." Behind me, I heard that scraping sound again, closer this time. I don't remember sitting down, but I remember the cold of the concrete seeping through my jeans, like the floor was trying to drink me. My heart was beating so hard it felt mechanical, out of sync, like it was trying to escape my chest and run without me. The warehouse smelled different now. Hot plastic, old blood, ozone. The kind of smell you get when something's been burning quietly for a long time. The scraping behind me didn't stop. It circled, slow, patient, like it had all the time in the world and wanted me to understand that. I didn't turn around. I didn't have to. I could feel it in the air, the way the pressure shifted, the way my ears rang harder when it leaned closer. The man in the chair was sobbing openly now, shoulders shaking so violently the restraints creaked. His eyes kept flicking past me, toward whatever was stalking the edges of the room, and every time he did, his face collapsed a little more, like his mind was folding in on itself. "I didn't know," he kept saying through the tape. "I didn't know he'd die." Caleb laughed. Not the laugh I remembered. Not the dumb, breathless snort he used to do when we stayed up too late watching garbage horror movies. This laugh was hollow, processed. It echoed through the speakers with a delay that made it sound like a room full of mouths laughing half a second too late. "You knew," Caleb said. "You knew when you left me there. You knew when you washed your hands. You knew when you watched the news and felt relieved it said, 'accident.'" The screens flickered back on. Not old footage this time. Live feeds. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but my hand moved anyway, like it belonged to someone else. A group chat had been created. No name, just participants. Me, Emma, my sister, my boss. 2 old high school friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Even my dad. The first message came in. A video. I opened it. Emma was tied to a chair in a room I didn't recognize. Her face was bruised, eyes swollen from crying. Behind her, the same blank-faced thing stood motionless, its head tilted at that unnatural angle. The video had no sound, but I could tell she was screaming my name. Another message. My sister, asleep in her apartment, her bedroom door slowly opening. Another. My dad, driving, the camera angle low, like it was hidden near the pedals. Caleb's voice softened. "I don't want them," he said. I never did. This isn't about punishment. The man in the chair thrashed harder, muffled screams turning wet and animal. This is about balance. The thing behind me leaned closer. I felt its breath. Cold, dead air that smelled like soil and old rain. Something brushed my shoulder, light as a fingertip, and my vision swam. For a second, I wasn't in the warehouse anymore. I was 15 again. I was standing on that road, headlights cutting through the dark. I was yelling, walking away, pretending I didn't hear Caleb call my name, pretending it wasn't fear in his voice. The vision snapped back. My hands were wet. I looked down and realized I'd been clawing at my own palms hard enough to break skin. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. The screens all changed at once. The footage zoomed in on the man's face, on his eyes. And then, layered over it, another image appeared. Faint at first, then clearer. Caleb. But not as a boy. This version of him was wrong. Taller, thinner. His limbs bent slightly too far at the joints, like the thing behind me. His skin was pale and stretched, veins visible beneath it like wires under insulation. His eyes were black pits, endless and hungry. But there was still something familiar there, something me. "I want you to choose," he said. A compartment slid open in the floor beside the chair with a mechanical whine. Inside was a device I didn't recognize at first. Metal, heavy, industrial. It hummed quietly, alive. "If you do nothing," Caleb continued, "I keep doing this. I keep reminding the world. I keep taking pieces until it remembers what it buried." The man let out a sound that wasn't human anymore. "If you do what you're thinking," Caleb said, "it stops. I stop." My phone buzzed again. A countdown timer appeared in the group chat. 10 o'clock. 9:59. My stomach twisted. I looked at the screens again. Emma, my sister, my dad, all of them still alive, still breathing. For now. The thing behind me placed its hand on my back. Not gently, possessively. I stood up. Every step toward the chair felt like I was wading through mud, like the air itself was resisting me. The man's eyes locked onto mine, wide and pleading, and for a split second, I saw something there that almost looked like regret. Almost. The timer hit 7 o'clock. "I'm sorry," I said. I don't know who I was saying it to. When I reached the chair, the man started shaking his head violently. Tears poured down his face, soaking into the tape. Caleb leaned closer on the screen. "Remember him," he said. "Remember me." The warehouse lights flared, blinding white. And then everything went dark. When the lights came back on, the chair was empty. The restraints hung loose, twisted and bent like something had ripped free in the wrong direction. There was no blood, no body, just deep gouges in the concrete floor, leading toward the far wall and stopping abruptly, like whatever had been dragged away simply ceased to exist. The screens shut off one by one. The countdown vanished. My phone went silent. The thing behind me was gone. So was Caleb. The warehouse door creaked open on its own, letting in the cold night air. I stumbled outside, lungs burning, head spinning. The industrial park was empty, quiet, normal, too normal. By the time I got back to my car, my phone buzzed one last time. A single message from an unknown number. "You remembered. I can rest." I drove until sunrise without stopping. I thought it was over. I was wrong. I didn't go back to my apartment. I didn't go to work. I didn't answer anyone. I drove until the sky went grey and then pink, until my hands cramped around the steering wheel, and my eyes burned so badly, I started seeing shapes that weren't there. Every mile marker felt like a countdown I couldn't see anymore. Somewhere around sunrise, I pulled into a rest stop outside a town I didn't recognize, parked crooked across 2 spaces, and just sat there listening to my engine tick as it cooled. My phone stayed silent. That terrified me more than anything else. No buzzing, no phantom vibrations, no messages that weren't there. Silence. Thick and unnatural, like the world had been muted. I kept checking my signal bars like they might suddenly spell out a warning if I stared long enough. I finally slept around noon, slumped in the driver's seat with my jacket pulled over my head. I dreamed of static. Not images, just sound. Endless white noise punctured by something underneath it. Something rhythmic. Breathing. Not mine. When I woke up, my phone was face down on my chest. Screen lit. One new notification. From my own number. "You did what I couldn't." I dropped the phone like it burned me. I didn't pick it back up for a long time. When I finally did, there was nothing else. No thread, no history. Just that one line, sitting there like a scar you only notice when the light hits it right. I turned the phone off completely and stayed at that rest stop until the sun dipped low again, watching people come and go, trying to convince myself the world still worked the way it was supposed to. It didn't. On the news that night, a familiar face appeared on the screen. The anchor's voice was steady, professional. They used words like ongoing investigation and no signs of foul play. They showed a picture of the man from the chair, smiling, cropped from some old Facebook photo, and talked about how he'd been reported missing by his family. No leads, no suspects, no explanation. I threw up in the bathroom sink. I thought that would be the end of it. That whatever I'd unleashed had gotten what it wanted and gone quiet. That I'd pay the price in nightmares and guilt and paranoia. But at least everyone else would be safe. I was wrong. 3 days later, the emails started. Not to me, about me. A co-worker sent a screenshot asking if this was some sick joke. A forum post. A thread titled with my full name, spelled correctly, including my middle initial. Inside were clips, short videos, grainy, familiar angles. Me sleeping, me driving, me crying in my car at that rest stop. Comments flooded underneath. Is this real? RG. Dude looks like he's losing it. This is performance art, right? The worst comment was pinned at the top. He helped him finish it. I tried to report it. The page refreshed and vanished. Dead link. No cache. Like it had never existed. That night, my sister called. She didn't mention anything strange at first. She talked about work, about some dumb show she'd been binge-watching, about how tired she was. I almost believed things were normal again. Then she paused. "Do you remember Caleb?" she asked. My blood went cold. She told me she'd found something while cleaning out old boxes at my parents' house. A flash drive. No label. Plugged it in out of curiosity. Said it contained a single folder called Remember. Inside were videos. Hundreds of them. Not just Caleb. Not just me. Kids. Teenagers. Adults. All recorded without their knowledge. Different years, different places. Same style, same angles. Same static, buried in the audio. At the end of every folder was the same text file. He saw you. I told her to destroy it, to throw it away, to never open anything like that again. She went quiet. Then she said, "It already copied itself." The call dropped. I haven't heard from her since. Now things follow patterns. I see them when I stay still too long. Reflections that lag half a second behind. Faces in screens that don't match the room I'm in. Sometimes, late at night, my phone lights up by itself, and I can hear that faint clicking sound again. Like someone typing without a space bar, correcting something I got wrong. I don't sleep near mirrors anymore. I don't say names out loud. Because I've started to understand something Caleb couldn't explain back then. Something the deep web wasn't just showing us, but feeding. It doesn't care about justice. It doesn't care about guilt. It cares about participation. Every time someone watches. Every time someone clicks. Every time someone remembers instead of looking away, it grows a little more real, a little more present, and it needs people like me. People with guilt heavy enough to open the door and hands desperate enough to finish what it starts. Last night, my phone turned on by itself again. New message. From a number I didn't recognize. There are others like him. Another message followed immediately after. You're good at remembering now. Attached was a live feed. A boy, sitting alone in a dim room, eyes red, finger hovering over a mouse, about to click something he shouldn't. I stared at the screen for a long time. The rain started up again outside, soft and patient. Then I picked up the phone, and I didn't look away.
I was holding it together until the sister called. The way she talked about normal stuff first felt so real. I forgot I was reading a horror story. When she said, "Do you remember clap?" my stomach dropped. I was with you until the last line. You choose to watch. That's when you stopped being a victim. Another reply says, "That's the point though. There aren't any clean hands anymore." I finished this and immediately felt like I've done something wrong by reading it. I don't know how else to explain it. I can't get over the pinned comment. He helped him finish it. That's not a troll comment. That's written like someone's already decided that you're raw. It felt crazy, not gonna lie. So that's it for tonight episode. My Midnight Creepers. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, just leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and tell me if you prefer the new voice or the old voice. Thank you, and I hope you have a great night.